Hello, I'm Daniela. Today's video is a little unusual. It's a peek inside my studio and just some small ways that I organize. Now, my studio is a complete working studio. It's a dedicated space where I can work, but it's not a solely dedicated space. I share this space. It's in my home, and I'll show you that. I'll show you some of the features to this space. Now, unlike the beautiful studios on Instagram and some other places where everything has their place, mine is organized, sort of. It's organized in a way that I can use the space. The space you see here is my filming space, but it's also my creating space. So I need to be able to move my projects off my table, my desk area, so that I can film in a neat environment. When I'm creating, it's anything but neat, but that's the way it is. I wear a lot of smocks. I don't do my makeup or hair. I usually have my hair in a ponytail. And these are just ways that I create, and I'm really effective at doing that. I like to spend my time when I'm creating. I don't worry about the aesthetics of how I look or how my studio looks. And I try and keep my studio neat enough to film my YouTube videos and my classes, but not so neat that you mistake it for a retail environment. I'm not trying to sell any products here on how I organize. I'm just trying to give you some tips on how I organize and the backgrounds that you see around me. Now, my studio, even though it's a dedicated space, it doubles as a living space, kind of a family game room. And so on holidays, I have to be able to put my stuff away and make it neat enough that they can still enjoy their games without the clutter getting in the way. And also, I can keep my mess, my supplies, my projects out of the way. I don't feel pressure to have to explain them or hide them. I just want to keep it neatly out of the way. And I'll show you that as well. So we'll start by walking into my studio, just like I do every morning, and you'll see how it doubles as a functional living space. So here's the entrance to my studio, and as you can see, there's a pool table here that's not in use. We only use that when we have company or when it's the holidays or some evenings. There's some spare furniture, workout equipment, an additional computer and machine. Then I have the beginning of a storage area over there. I have some more of my supplies stored, and I just have open shelving to do this. Now, for this unit in particular, I have my albums from years past, my stencils, some supplies, and my ribbons. And I access this area daily, multiple times a day. On the shelf, I have more sewing supplies and notions. Now over here, you can see the window, and I keep this window open just for light. I know it's not that great on the camera currently, but I have more open shelving. On the bottom shelf, I have a small die cutter and some projects I'm working on. I have additional supplies that I'm going to use, and I don't use this shelf as frequently. I have a shelf here with just more supplies. I label everything, and I tend to have it here in cigar boxes. I have my recipes and my abstract art folders. And then I have another shelf, again, with more supplies. On the top, I have my photo props and my washi tape. And so for the photo props, I have the silk flowers. I'll have a giant candle, some other ideas. And this beautiful set my daughter got me for Christmas. It's just little things that you can use to prop up your objects when you photograph them. All different shapes and heights, and I treasure that. It's a wonderful set. I have my washi tape here all ready so that I can use it either while creating or painting, and then I just have some odds and ends that I like. I repurposed this old treasure chest here with my embroidery supplies. I have some spare canvases, my jewelry supplies. So when I'm either beading or making jewelry, that's my rolling cart that I can just wheel out and keep all my supplies together. The vacuum that keeps the studio clean. And then I have more pull-out drawers here in this storage unit, and this is more of my sewing supplies. I find it very handy. I have a bunch of paper, both gift wrap and actual paper, in the background over there. And then some more drawer units and rolling carts, again with more supplies, and they're mostly sewing. There are some paper tools in the rolling unit. So now I approach my work area here, and as you can see, it's quite a mess. There's lights going on, but that's basically for the filming. There's an orange light on the bottom, and I jokingly call that my freestone. It warms my feet. It's just a minor warmth that I really enjoy. I have my cushions with back support for my chair, but I have a chair that I really love, so that makes my studio very special for me. Right in front of my studio that you see the side of when I'm filming, I have these two shelving units, and they hold all my papers. They hold my decorative paper, my watercolor paper, even my recipes, that type of papers. Anything paper related is how I organize it. I try and keep the top neat because I know that I'm going to film there, so I usually have a candle or something. I have a small storage unit that just collects odds and ends, and every few months I'll go and clean them out. These odds and ends are things that I've gathered just in the last few months. I have these two old silverware boxes that I redid, and I'll come a little closer so you can see them. They hold my props, and the bottom one holds my carved rubber stamps. So for the top one, it's like a chest. It holds my photo props that I use and that I've created, beads and the like. There's also a drawer that pulls out and holds my paintbrushes for my acrylic painting. Now if I remove this top box, here I have another silverware box that has the rubber stamps that I've carved. And you can see those all there. And this is the way that I keep them neatly organized. I want them protected, and that's why they have their own dedicated wooden box. So here I have the green storage units that a number of you asked about that I have behind where I sit and film. And we'll take a closer look. And these are the objects that I use quite frequently. So here are my drawer units. And as you can see, they're labeled. Just got little small labels here. Paper tools, jewelry tools, tech tools, painting knives. And each drawer is filled with things that I use regularly. I have a drawer full of nothing but labels because I use them quite frequently in my research and in my work. I have a bunch of tapes up top here, both paper tape, painting tape, and so on. I have a drawer that I labeled templates that have my various templates that I use to create different designs and drawings, and so on. I try and use every bit of space, so underneath here is where I store my self-healing mats, my ironing mat, and just some spare cardboard. Now on the table I keep my pencils and my erasers, my things that I use regularly. I have my catch-all unit here, this white unit that you sometimes see just partial of in the background behind me. Now in that unit I have everything from my glasses that I use for blue light while I'm editing, to my watercolor paintbrushes, spare water, lip balm, hand cream, a lot of pencils and papers, and then on top here, this is my catch-all. If I find something in the studio that I don't really know where to put it, or if it needs to be put away, but I'm not in the mood to do that, I just drop it here. Over here, this is a bunch of odds and ends. I have some inks. I have a tray that's another catch-all with just odds and ends that I plan on using someday, but I don't have anything in mind quite yet. A jar of treats for when I have visitors in my studio. Some reference materials and little zippered pouches for holding various things. These are holding my wires and my adapters for my computer. If I go lower on these units, they're mostly sewing supplies here. Just some odds and ends here, and everything's in its own jar. So it's organized somewhat. It's just not pretty. So that's the side of my studio where you see some of it, but not all of it. Now, if I pan around, I have a giant window here that I have to keep closed because the sun moves so much during the day and is very bright. And also, if there's anybody out walking in the yard or the pool area, you'll see their shadow. So I try and keep those closed. But while I'm just creating, I really enjoy having that open and seeing that life. Now, the area that I look at while I'm filming is right this way. So I have my light here, I have another light here, and then I just have more storage. I also keep my tripods over there. And as you can see, there's the supplies for the pool table as well. I keep a lot of sewing supplies in these units here, this gold bronzy unit, and there's a white tray that's a catch-all for all my supplies and the different techniques that I'm using. So currently it has a lot of sewing supplies. So up top, I keep a bin of empty clean containers. These make great little palettes. They hold beads, they hold doodads, they make nice circles for tracing as templates, and I just store those when I clean them. I have some wipes to keep my surface clean, more supplies, and I store it that way. Over here, I have a beautiful storage unit that I repurposed with all my sewing supplies, including my sewing machine and some other projects. And then over here, I have even more bins, a drawer storage unit for sewing notions, various threads, tools. Fabric is what I keep in these tall bins. And then I have another rolling cart over here with drawing supplies. On the top, I have just some tools, but then as I go down, I keep all my drawing supplies neatly organized. I have some spare canvases as well. So this is a view from my studio that you don't normally see as the viewer. So that's my messy but usable studio. I hope that's answered any questions you might have of how I organize and how I store my materials and my supplies. Now, every few months, I'll go through what I call a giant purge, where I'll clean my studio and I really deep clean it. I go through every single drawer and every single shelf and I'll clean it out. If it's a product I haven't used in a while, it goes into a box. And it could be either fabric that I at one point loved, but I haven't used. It's been there for quite a while. Or maybe it's a duplicate tool that I found. Or maybe it's something that I just mistakenly tucked into a drawer. So what I'll do is I'll put that in a box. And then because I put it in the box, it's kind of in my mind. And if I think about it over the next few days, I'll remove it from the box and find it a home. If in the next few days I don't find a home for it or I don't think about it, I usually just set it aside. And then in a couple of months, if I go to that box and there's something that I want, I'll reclaim it. But if it's nothing that I've been thinking about, then I'll either donate it to charity or give it away to a friend. Maybe somebody else will have a use for it. And I kind of do this regularly, and that's how I stay somewhat organized as well, because I need space. The space is so valuable to me. So if you have any questions about how I organize or my studio, please feel free to post them below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and thanks for joining me today.